Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, good people. So a friend of mine just told me this rather disturbing story and I had to share it with someone, so yeah, here goes. I'ma leave out names and certain details cause I don't know how much of it to believe. He was slightly drunk when he told me this, after all, and don't wanna get sued for libel. Also, pardon the salty language, plaza. Okay, so the thing that happened is that we were, like, at this party, and some people started talking politics or something, and something about that triggered my friend and he bolted from the room. I went outside and saw him sitting on that concrete sidewalk step thing. IDK what the cutoff between stairs and steps is. Sorry I'm rambling, this whole story has me off kilter. You get when the sidewalk level is a few feet higher than street level, nursing a beer. Are you alright, man? I asked, sitting next to him. Good people. He said it like the phrase made him want to spit. He was looking out into the street, but probably just because that was what was in the general direction of forward. I've had more direct experience with evil than you can possibly imagine, and I can tell you, they all think of themselves as good people. We sat in silence for a minute. I was raised in a cannibal cult, he said finally. What? I asked. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. You know how I never visit my hometown or talk to my family? It's 'cause they're cannibals. Okay, first, what the fuck? I said. People don't just go cannibal for no reason outside of dumb horror movies about inbred Texans. He actually chuckled, but not like it was funny. There is a story about it, actually. Let me see if I can remember. Let you see if you can remember how your town became a bunch of cannibals? I was incredulous. You got to understand that when I learned this it was just, like, local historical trivia, you know? He said. Right. So during the Civil War we were in a bad place. Famine, Indians, and no government support because, well, everything was focused on the war. And then this priest came by, performing miracles and shit. He called down the rains, he brought the crops back to life. He snorted, and he called down a plague on the Indians. We knew this must be a very holy man, and so we listened to his teachings. A lot of it, while weird at the time, is actually more mainstream today. You know, God gives you money because he wants you to be rich sort of thing. Then there was the whole bit about secrecy and being cautious when grooming outsiders into the faith, and about grooming and promoting priests from within the community, which was very odd, but that turned out to be pragmatism when he revealed his, very literal take on the Eucharist. He paused to take a swig of beer. Eventually he named his successor and hit the road again, saying that as long as there were towns full of desperate people, he must wander the earth. Which, come to think of it, is rather ominous in and of itself. And when he was all like, let's eat people, everyone was like, K. I asked, presumably anyone who objected became the Eucharist in those first Sundays. I don't know if I was told that, read it between the lines, or just concluded that on my own, though. He said also, once you've tasted human flesh, I suppose there's no turning back, I said. He looked at me and blinked. Huh? I never considered it from that angle before. Seriously? I mean, you got to understand that growing up, this was normal for me. You're serious, aren't you? About this whole town full of cannibals thing? At this point I was beginning to honestly buy into this. I mean, who would think to fake not having thought of the fact that most people find cannibalism abhorrent? Yeah. I don't know how many other towns that preacher converted, or that were converted by other missionaries we sent out. We deliberately didn't keep in contact with our coreligionists, so that if one group went down they wouldn't be able to spill on the others. He finished his beer. Well, guess that's one place I'm never visiting. He snorted. You think we survived this long by doing anything as obvious as ganking random tourists, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style? They're smarter than that. They can track that shit out to human traffickers. You could stand in downtown and never realize that anything was different about this town, 'cause there isn't. We watch football games and go to movies, and yes, we even give to charity. The charity thing honestly threw me. But he kept talking. I was groomed for the priesthood at a young age. Any boy who shows promise is. Not all of them are going to become priests, of course, but you got to groom potential candidates while they're young. The vast majority of human beings aren't naturally killers, you know. It's something you have to train into them. We kind of worked our way backwards through the process. At our youngest, we're simply cooking the meat, with adult supervision. Gotta be thorough when cooking long pork, you know. Literally every disease a human being is capable of catching from another, you can catch through cannibalism. The truly chilling thing, for me, was how matter-of-fact he became when describing this process, when before he'd been barely holding it together. After a while, we move up to butchery. Very precise work, that, gotta be careful to remove all the nerves we can, to lessen the risk of kuru. Both because we don't want our parishioners getting sick and because that'd be a red flag, seeing how you can only actually catch it through cannibalism. Then we witness the sacrifice, and if watching some poor sod get their throat slit doesn't make us crack, we move on to doing it ourselves. You know, I think you're right about that whole no turning back thing being part of the logic, because it's only once you've got blood on your hands that you're allowed to interact with the prisoners. Bring them food, water, and toiletries, read them Bible passages, and turn the TV on and off. They're only allowed to watch Seben, of course. His voice broke, and the almost glib manner in which he described slaughtering human beings fell away. He was visibly shaking as he continued. I blindfolded and bound a man, took him to the priest and watched a bunch of kids watch as the priest slit his throat. That Sunday I took the Eucharist and, like, the second after I'd swallowed it, I was hit with this dark sonder. Sonder? You know, that feeling where you suddenly realize that all the people around you have lives and emotions just as rich and valid as your own. He looked down at his hands, the shame of his past radiating off of him. I ate that little mouthful of meat, same as I'd done 1,000 times before, and then I was like, that was a man. He had hopes, and dreams, and friends and family who have no idea what happened to him and will never see him again or learn of his fate and will be wondering for the rest of their lives what happened to him. And we had killed him, and I had murdered him, and for what? To add a little goddamn verisimilitude to our goddamn ritual? When half of us aren't even all that goddamn fundamentalist in the first place. It's fucking obscene, is what it is. He was almost hyperventilating at this point, but got a hold of himself. He sighed, rubbed his eyes with his palms, and tried to take another swig of his beer. Realizing it was empty, he tossed the can away. I heard it bounce off of something before he continued his story. Wish I could say I ran away after that, but the truth is, I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't have the words to articulate why what we were doing was wrong. I just knew it was. But I didn't know how to tell them that, and societal pressure is a hell of a thing, so I played along, he said, oozing self-hatred. I went with the fucking flow, like a goddamn coward. Like the goddamn coward that I am. He shook his head. I shocked my friends by going to college as far away from home as I could possibly get without walking into the sea, and once there I called the FBI. They haven't done anything about it, yet, though. Maybe they're still gathering evidence, or maybe we or some of our coreligionists have planted our people in the FBI specifically to sit on reports like this. Or maybe they just didn't believe me. In retrospect, I probably should have just said the church is involved in human trafficking and left out the more sensational parts. Wait. You had friends at this point? Of course I had friends. I told you, aside from our sacrament, these were normal people. Normal people with normal lives doing normal things. That's the goddamn point. This is why I can't help but feel utter contempt when I hear some asshole say shit like these aren't, like, mustache-twirling villains here, they're just normal people whose circle of empathy only extends to the people in their own small community. Like, yeah, no shit, that's what evil looks like in the real world. Not caring about people who are outside your little bubble is what evil is. It's just more apparent with some people because their circles extend only to themselves. If you don't care about people you never met, if you only care about injustice when it lands on your front door, guess what? The only reason you're not a good little member of my church is that you weren't raised in our particular traditions.